Welcome to Trading Nation. I'm Mike Santoli. Stocks in rally mode to close out what has been a brutal month. So will the rebound continue? Bill Stone is the co-chief investment officer at Avalon Advisors, a firm with more than $7.7 billion under management. Welcome, Bill. Just to set the scene a little bit here, this October pullback pretty much brought the S&P 500 back to the flat line for the year. I guess, causing a lot of people to wonder if this is just a quick correction or something more. What's your stance on all that?
I think it is a correction because I'll say relatively quick. We'll see how long it lasts, but we just keep looking at it and think the fundamentals continue to look positive. Particularly look at the earnings. We're in the midst of third quarter earnings season now. Clearly that's looking in the backward, but they continue to look good. And also certainly the economy, we think, while slowing, is certainly not slowing to a level that makes us nervous about earnings.
So do you think that we're just going to kind of move into November and people will be looking at more or less the same assumptions that they had a month ago and just have prices be lower, or do we need some kind of a catalyst here to potentially get things moving?
Well, I think you have a couple things. So one is, yes, I think as we continue to see data and it doesn't fall apart, I think that's a good part of it. I think the other part is we get past the midterm elections. Certainly, I expect there may be some volatility around those elections. Obviously, different people have different views on the politics. But the interesting thing about the midterm elections is just that if you actually look back at the data, since 1950, you have not had a year following the midterm elections that was negative. So in the 12 months following, we haven't had a negative return, and on average, we've actually had a 15% return. So maybe all this uncertainty then, gives way to knowing at least a little bit of something. And since we think the economy holds up and earnings hold up, I think you have that catalyst.
And obviously, among the things that seem to be weighing on the market in the last several weeks is, we have bond yields heading to maybe a new higher range, a little bit of uncertainty about how aggressive the Fed's going to be, of course, the China stuff. Do you think those are all excuses for this pullback, or do we need to, again, see some kind of progress along those fronts in order to, I guess, ensure people that we're not going to really fall away in terms of economic growth next year?
I think the one thing to watch is the Fed, so I do think that the market is looking at the possibility of a policy error there, that they'll tighten too hard. And you've seen some move back in the rhetoric around how much they think they'll have to tighten. I think you're going to see that the hike in December. I just think they're set on that. We'll see. We've seen futures come off a bit on expectations, or markets pricing in a little less, but I'll say it's going to happen. I think that is one part to watch, is if you continue to see them come off being so sure about having to hike a whole bunch in 2019, I think that will help in terms of just saying, hey, we'll see how it plays out. But that is part of what we need to watch.
So if we get a little bit of an upside move here going into the final 2 months of the year, just how far do you think it could carry? We're still, a good ways from the September 20th highs for the S&P, about 2930.
Yeah, so as I look at my numbers, I do a lot of my valuations in the market relative to where yields are, because you just have to compare the different opportunity sets out there. With very conservative numbers, I think you could get to 2950 on the market, assuming we have the earnings kind of picture continue to hold in, which again, we expect. So I think there's a nice thing about this pullback, while it's scary, is it has actually put some nice opportunity out in front of us again.
All right, well, that would bring you to just about a new all-time high then, 2950 on the S&P if we get there. Thanks very much, Bill. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Trading Nation. I'm Mike Santoli. See you next time.